Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Juju's Journey. Today is June 19th, 2026. And not today, Wednesday was my grandson's second birthday. And his birthday party is tomorrow on the 20th. And I'm so excited. If you're new here, I'm Juju. I'm a grandmother of 5 kids. I'm 58 years old. I'm a widow now for 1 year and a half. Still hard. We won't go there because days like today or tomorrow really make me sad because, my husband's not here to celebrate. But we're not going to go there. We're going to focus on me and my grandson. Okay, so let me go back and we'll talk about my grandson. Very, very interesting story. But we'll start out with my day. I got up this morning, no coffee. My daughter called and said, wait until I get off at 12. She's a dental hygienist. The office closes at 12 on Fridays. And, we'll go eat lunch, go to the coffee shop. That's where we were going to eat lunch. Grab coffee. But I needed to go to Walmart. And I was going to go this morning to do help with some of the theme of his birthday party is Toy Story. So I was going to help with some of the decorations. So, and I've known I was going to help with this particular decoration for probably 2 weeks now. And I kept going back and forth in my head, like how I was going to do it, because I wanted to do it the way I wanted to do it. And so I kept thinking. And then it just dawned on me, because I'm supposed to be decorating for the Toy Story, not for the way I want to do it. So it was simple. I was making it way too hard. It was going to be way too grown up. So I had to pretend like I was a 6-year-old doing this today. And it was a lot of fun. My daughter actually helped me. But let's go back to my grandson, who's 2. His mom found out she was expecting when she was 6 months pregnant. She didn't know she was pregnant. She was already 6 months pregnant when she found out she was expecting. It was like a whirlwind. We found out she took a pregnancy test. She's pregnant. She goes and it's confirmed at the doctor's office she's pregnant. Then she gets her first one of those ultrasounds that you can pay for. And they were like, how far along do you think you are? Because the baby looked huge, like a full-size baby, And so they were like, I think you're measuring here, but they're not. It's one of those that you pay for, like the 5D imaging. So she got into with her gynecologist, and they're doing the measurements, and they're like, no, you're measuring, and with the ultrasound, everything, we estimate that you're like 6 months pregnant. So holy cow, in 4 months, she's going to have a baby. Whirlwind. But they got it together. We had a beautiful baby shower. She actually had 2. Decorated the nursery, got everything she needed. And then here comes little grandson. Perfectly beautiful, cute little chunky cheeks. Just precious. And all was good, we thought. They thought they heard a slight heart murmur when he was born. But then before he left the hospital, they said it must have closed up because they didn't hear it anymore. Well, then he goes to the pediatrician in 2 days, like they do. She doesn't hear a murmur. Not that concerned. He looks good. Everything's good. See you back in a week. Well, of course, he lost a few ounces like you do those first few days. Take him back in a week, and he's actually lost a few more ounces. And so that's kind of concerning. So, try this, bring him back in a week. Well, he had gained to like his birth weight. So they were excited. Keep on doing what you're doing. Bring you back next week. I can't remember if, I know in the beginning, I think it was scheduled, like the doctor's office scheduled his visits, but then after the first 2 or 3 weeks, my daughter-in-law was scheduling the visits every week. And here in South Carolina, and it could be like this all over the United States, but if you're a first-time mom, you can opt to have a nurse come to your house once a week. And my daughter-in-law worked in the medical field, so she already knew this nurse that was going to be coming to her house. So she opted in. So between my daughter-in-law and the nurse coming weekly, my daughter-in-law's instincts were spot on. Like she would say, you got to hold him up like this to feed him a bottle. Normally I would hold babies at an angle like this. No, he has to sit straight up. She even, like if you would lay him down in his bassinet, you would think flat. No, she started tilting. She had the bassinet at an angle. She said he can't lay down flat. He doesn't like it. She's never been around children. She was completely shocked when she was pregnant. She didn't even think that she wanted children, So her motherly instincts kicked in big time. Well, she took my grandson to the doctor. They even got a scale for at home just to make sure he was gaining weight, and they changed formula a few times but she kept scheduling appointments, and that this last appointment she said, I would like to go see somebody, like a specialist. And they said, or have tests done. That's what it was, have tests run, because something's not right. And so the pediatrician said, well, let's try this one last thing and bring him in next week, and if nothing's changed, then we'll have tests run. Well, she goes home, and that was the same day that the nurse comes to her home. And so they talked to me, the nurse, we were all talking, and the nurse is like, if you take him to the emergency room, explain all of his problems, and they will run the test. I mean, because they'll have to. So, and that way you don't have to get scheduled, and you just put your mind at ease. Well, they go to the emergency room. They're finally seen. The first thing the ER doctor says is, your child is congestive heart failure. He's not going to make it. Like, he's bad. This is bad. So they get him in a room. This is very late at night, so all night long, the next morning, the person who comes in and does the EEGs or EKGs or something for the heart, they're like, she's off. The only one we have, and she's off, and we're afraid that if we call her to come back in, like, she'll quit because she's the only one here and she never gets any time off. But he's completely stable. We've got the cardiologist. Everybody's pediatrics, and he's in the pediatric ward at a good hospital. So they're like, he's fine. I mean, like, it can wait until Monday. Well, they did put in a message for her, and she did respond, and she just so happened to be at the hospital checking on a patient that she had seen the morning of. And so she did the test, and guess what? He was on a helicopter that same night, heading to a really good children's hospital. His little heart was backwards. All the valves that are supposed to be on your right side were on the left side. Then there's some blood vessel stuff that is also circulating around he's got a major heart defect. Major. And he still has a hole in his heart, but the hole in his heart was actually what was keeping him alive. And yes, his lungs did have fluid. Like, he has to take Lasix every day now. But he was in congestive heart failure. So he's at a very good hospital now. And they do every test imaginable. They found out he had one kidney. It was a horseshoe kidney. He also had I don't know what they're called, but where the blood vessels are on the outside of your body instead of on the inside. He had a few of those, and that's consistent with heart babies. They said all of this should have been caught in utero whenever she did the anatomy scan, because, I mean, she was already 6 months pregnant. It would have shown all this. They don't know why that wasn't detected. She would have never delivered where she delivered. She would have been at this hospital had anybody caught it. But he went through his first major heart surgery when he was little, like 3 months old, maybe just about. No, maybe he just hit 4 months. They kept him there. They tried to get him to gain weight, which they did, because they had a special nutritionist that made his bottles with lots and lots and lots of calories. They say it's like eating a cheeseburger and running a marathon at the same time. That's what his little body's like. The way his heart's working, it's like he's running a marathon. So that was very, very stressful, but he had his heart surgery. He did wonderful. Came home. He did have a setback. He stopped eating his bottle. So he ended up back over in that hospital for almost another month. And he came out with a feeding tube, which is fine. But we figured possibly it had something to do with the type of formula he was having to drink. Is so fortified with vitamins, nutrients, and calories that it probably, he didn't like it. So he quit doing that, but he has to eat. So he's on a feeding pump, and he has to be fed every 4 hours these calories. They want to increase it because they want him to gain weight. Of course, with a very few like if he drank normal baby formula, he would continue to lose weight because it's like running a marathon and eating a cheeseburger. You'd still lose weight. So, used to it was really hard. I mean, it's still hard. But now he's older, so he can wear a little backpack and put his little feeding stuff in it and walk around and play. Before then, you'd have to walk around with the metal pole that held the bag, follow him around while he was playing. And parents were very limited because they'd have to be right there with him and make sure the cord wouldn't get caught, on toys and things like that. But, or the tube, the feeding tube. But now that he wears everything in his little backpack, he can go down a slide, he can do everything. And they don't have to be right there with him. But a feed takes around an hour and a half to feed him, like for it to run its whole full course. And then he has to start a new feeding every 4 hours. So, it's very limited. Like, can you imagine an hour and a half you were walking around with your son, especially when he started crawling and rolling over, you can't keep them still when they're eating for an hour and a half with a tube, walking around with the bag, and it's going through a machine and dripping, like you would if you were in the hospital. But now that he's got the little, like I said, old enough to wear the little backpack where everything stands up straight and works properly, it's like a different ball game. Now the parents can kind of breathe a little bit because that's a lot. I mean, that's a full-time job, you know, just feeding him. And so we're grateful that he's now big enough for the little backpack, like I said. The goal is his next corrective surgery, which will be the big surgery, will be between 3 years old and 5 years old. Of course, they would want to do it closer to 3, but they said he really is going to have it done before he's 5. They feel that, and I have another friend, the little girl's now graduated high school, but they wanted her to wait until she was 3 as well. But 3 years old, and you have to weigh a certain amount. So if you're 3 and you don't weigh that amount, then they're going to hold off until you get to that weight. And then at 5, if you're still not to that weight, they'll probably have no choice but to do the surgery before you get there. But if he starts presenting issues, because they feel like between 3 and 5, he will start presenting. That's usually, I guess, about the age. Something must happen. You must go through a big growth spurt or something. But they feel like he will start presenting, and so if he starts presenting before he gets to that weight, of course they'll do the heart surgery. But they prefer, you know, all of these things. And he's gaining weight, and he's getting bigger, but he's still a little tiny thing. My son was a very tiny, short, little fella. So he looks proportioned. He does have, like, little chunky legs. He's wide open, he is, like, wide open. Nothing's stopping him. You would never know this child's sick. Never. Smart. Happy. He's such a blessing. Like, God blessed us big time. So, tomorrow is his birthday party. And the funny thing about him is that he legitimately loves the Toy Story. He has Woody. He dressed up like Woody for Halloween. And he doesn't watch a lot of television, but I guess his mother likes, I'm sure they let him watch Toy Story, but he had to play, you know, like the little Woody character. He carries Woody around everywhere he goes. Woody is being dragged by the arm. Woody goes down the sliding board. Woody's in the back of a dump truck. Woody is, you know, if he's playing over here outside at a water table, but he forgot and he left Woody over there next to his little car that he rides on. He'll be playing in that water table, and then you can see his little eyes go, and he'll take off running and go find Woody, and then he'll bring him back over there with him. He doesn't let Woody stay by himself too long before he remembers, where's Woody? I need to go get Woody. So tomorrow, his birthday party, the theme of it is the Toy Story. So my daughter-in-law, and I'm going to show you, well, first of all, I'll show you what she wanted me to do, and then I'm going to show you what I did, and then I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. Okay, so hold on. Okay, I'm coming. So, I had to end up going to Walmart to get boxes, right? So, do you see how when you take a box apart, like this would have been the box, right? Together. You see? So, if you deconstruct the box, take it apart, both sides, but then you can do it like this and make it stand up, right? And it would stand on its own. Well, she wanted me to create the little cardboard boxes that are in the Toy Story that the little kid makes and draw them in each section. And then she was going to let this be the centerpiece on the table. Well, I mean, I was overthinking this. I already decided I'd do both sides, so the people, if you were sitting on the other side of the table, you would see it. And it was supposed to be at least like 4 feet long, and this is not 4 feet long. And I had plenty of boxes, but all of my boxes had writing on them, like from Amazon, that you couldn't take off. So, I mean, I went and got the construction paper, and I'm supposed to be making a school, and I'm supposed to be making a general store, a jail. So I said, well, I'll take construction paper. And then I was going to cut the construction paper out, you know, and glue it on the box. And then I was going to paint the little windows and the jail, everything else. Like, I was going to just do it. But it would not have been like a 6-year-old did it. And so I kept looking, talked to my daughter that lives in Maine. And she's like, no, if it's Toy Story, it's got to look just like the Toy Story. Because all the decorations, like she's looking on Pinterest, I'm looking on Pinterest. Everything Toy Story, all the decorations look like this. So I went to Walmart to get clean boxes like that when it had no writing on it today. And we got 2 different size boxes. And I decided I didn't want to do the accordion. I think my daughter-in-law will be okay. So this is Town Hall. And it will just sit on the table. But we did it on the other side. It's double-sided. And this is, if you look up Toy Story Pinterest or Toy Story little town, this is what you're going to get, okay? Then this is the school. And you see how you spell school, S-K-S-K-O-O-L. That's how the little kid did it in the Toy Story. This is the jail. I made this one, and of course it's double-sided. But in the Toy Story, I do think they went down. I think these were supposed to be jail cells, but mine are jail windows. They'll just have to deal with that. Here's the bank. And there's the other side, bank. So whatever side of the table you're on, you get to see it. And then here's the hotel. We tried to make them as close as possible to what the Toy Story kid did. And let me see what else we have. And did I already show you the jail? Yeah, I did. And the only one I don't think I have, and here's the saloon. The only one I did not bring in here is the general store. So we made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But we made 2 sets. So we made 21 of these today. And it's so, so cute. So cute. And I think, too, he might even get to play with them after his birthday party. So I think what I'm going to do is I have 2 more of these little boxes left over. And she originally wanted me to put like one of this, like Town Hall will go in one section, you know, and then the school will go in another one. Maybe the hotel will go in one. And I'm going to do them double-sided. I'll cut these off. And I'm going to make her at least 2 accordions because that's what she asked for. So I think she'll be excited. And actually, it was so much fun. We spent 2 hours coloring with crayons, making those today. And it's awesome. Absolutely 100% awesome. Oh, it makes my heart happy to be able to do something like that. Last year, my task was to make the paper chain. And they had a huge tent, a tent so big. You have no idea the type of birthday party. Okay, so my daughter-in-law is Mexican, and she, her mom and her stepfather, it's kind of interesting because she really doesn't, she doesn't do that much. She's not that involved in her Mexican community, except like when she had her baby shower and like this. Like everything else is just like all of her friends, everybody, like she doesn't have any friends that are Mexican, and not that I think she should, you know, I'm just saying she grew up, and so all of her friends, all the weddings, everything she does is very like our culture in America, which I guess that's I mean, I don't know if it's just an American cultural thing, but in their culture, it doesn't matter if you know each other or not. Like if they have a celebration, they let it get out in their community, and everybody shows up and they celebrate. And so last year for his very first birthday, and they celebrate big time. I mean, I was nervous last year because I was like telling my son, so you're going to have all of these people at your home and you never met them? Like, to me, I would never have someone at my home if I've never met them, you know? And she didn't know him either. That's the point. And I said, you know, I just don't know if I would do that. Open up my home to people that I've never met. It was the most beautiful thing ever. They had a DJ. His birthday party is, when it starts, there's no end time, even for a 1-year-old. So they had a disc jockey, like somebody to play music, and he also played English and Spanish in both. Like one song would be in English and the next song might be played in Spanish. They had cooks. They're cooking all day long, authentic Mexican food. They had special drinks. I didn't drink any, but they were good apparently, because my son-in-law drank too, and he's my son-in-law, but my daughter had to take him home because it was so strong. Like it knocked him for a loop, you know, but they were beautiful, beautiful, beautiful drinks. And it was a big celebration. They had 2 gigantic, and when I say piñatas, I'm telling you that they had to hoist these things up on major pulleys. And one piñata would be like 6 feet wide. Like one was a square. And then the other one was really huge too. But that one you had to run. My son had to run holding a rope. And as he ran, it made it spin, you know? And so it was spinning candy everywhere. And all the little kids had bags to get the piñata stuff. And the first one was huge. It was so big. It had all these balloons in it. And so whenever it finally popped, the big piñata, and the balloons went everywhere, all the little kids had to go run and start popping other balloons. And every single balloon had either money or possibly candy. But it was a big deal. Like, the amount of stuff that was given away in the piñata was unbelievable. Of course, they had finger foods, and it was absolutely beautiful. There were over probably 200 people that came with their children. It was the best thing ever, and I was like, you know what? Now, this is cool, really cool. I mean, she told me that when somebody gets married in their culture, the bride and groom pay for nothing. Absolutely nothing. People that don't know you in that community, they all come together. So you have a completely stocked bar, but you have all the food, you have the music. They just all come with their talents. Everybody makes stuff and they celebrate. They celebrate. So I'm not sure if tomorrow is going to be as big as his first birthday party, but it's going to still be big. And there's still going to be 2 piñatas. So I can't wait. And no, I'm not nervous that strangers might show up, because none of these people there were strangers. They were all so nice and loving and caring and there to celebrate. And, you know, they were celebrating my grandson. And it just means the world to me. So I can't wait until tomorrow. The only downside for tomorrow is the temperature. You know, we're in South Carolina. Last year, it was so hot. Oh my gosh, you have no idea. This year, we're supposed to get better weather. The high tomorrow is only going to be 87. And it's supposed to be partly cloudy. But the humidity is unbelievable here in South Carolina. Normally, like last week, it was 99 degrees, but with the humidity, you can just say it's like 110. Humidity is horrible. If y'all have never dealt with it, come to South Carolina and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But his birthday party starts at 4:30. She planned it a little bit later this year. She has all the water slides. They rented a big one for older children, and my grandson has the little ones, and there's going to be lots of things to keep the kids cool. But she did it at 4:30 because she thought maybe, possibly, it would be cooler. But no, 87 at 4:30. I looked it up. They're predicting 6:30 it's still going to be 86 degrees. 7:30 tomorrow night, 84 degrees. And then at 8:30 it's still going to be 80. 80 is going to be great. You know? Perfect. 75, 80 all year round. But, and even for us to be in 87 degrees tomorrow is a blessing. Because normally here where I live, it's never 87 degrees this time of the year. It's always 95 and above. So that's really good. But huge tents, which will help a lot because you're not going to be in the direct sunlight. And last year, like I said, I made the paper chain absolutely humongous. And I have a paper slicer, so they were perfect. I mean, that paper chain probably, it was so big. She could use it, she used it around the tents. And then she was also able to snip it and start and go around their whole house. It was awesome. But we aren't doing a chain this year because, you know, she did a chain last year. So this year I got to make the boxes. And my daughter got to help, and it was a lot of fun. And that makes me very, very happy. So today, even though I woke up with no coffee, I ended up having a fabulous lunch at the coffee shop with my special coffee. And I even made coffee like an hour ago and drank it. And so I feel a little bit energetic. And I think I'm going to go make the next the accordion one for her. Knock those out so, you know, she can use that if she would choose. because I kind of went away from her wishes just a little bit, and I don't like doing that. But I'm excited. I mean, we're celebrating his life. My son says the way they are looking at it is every day is a celebration. So they're going to celebrate big time. Although it's hot, you know. They're going to celebrate big time. And my son has turned out to be the best dad. I'm so proud of him. So proud of him. And his dad, his dad would be so proud of him too. My husband, unfortunately, passed away when we were battling Charleston in the children's hospital. And when he finally got to come home the first time, was when we started with my husband. Okay, just put it this way. He had his heart surgery October 6th, right? That's my grandson's heart. I know that because it's also my other He had his heart surgery the same time my daughter was having her baby. It was very stressful. So October 6th. And then my husband passed away December 11th. So we didn't realize my husband was sick until the last week of October, like October 31st actually, or the last week of October, probably the 28th. But we didn't really know what we were dealing with, but that's when we first knew, oh crap. And so he really only had a month and, 2 weeks? So we didn't have a lot of time. His heart surgery was October 6th. And then when he finally got home from the hospital, it was towards the end of October. I think he was still in the hospital whenever we first realized my husband had a mass on his lungs. Didn't even know he was sick. I mean, he did feel sick enough to go to the doctor that day, but prior, we didn't know he was sick. And then, so all of November basically was dealing with them trying to, I mean, you know, heart surgery for a baby, your whole chest is, you know, they break your chest to go in. Babies are amazing. But, you know, they're dealing with that, him healing and going back and forth to Charleston, and then here we are now dealing with going back and forth to a pulmonologist and going and having brain scans and all these other things done. And it was just a whirlwind. But like I said, that whole entire year, I mean, only 4 months being pregnant. Like, she was literally only pregnant in our head for 4 months. And then so much stuff happened in that 1 year. So, of course, we're celebrating him being alive. But it's sad that my husband didn't get a chance to, you know, be around his grandson. My other grandson was born October 6th, and he didn't get to be around him either. The only grandchild that really is going to remember him is my granddaughter. The one in Maine will remember him, but won't have memories because he lives in Maine. He'll just remember phone conversations and silly little FaceTimes and the few visits in between, but nothing major, you know. But my granddaughter that lives next door saw her granddaddy every day, you know. She still cries. She misses him so much. But anyway, that's enough for that. My voice is... I'm starting my sinuses. I need to take some medicine. But we're all excited. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening about my grandchild. It makes me happy. That's something to celebrate. Celebrating my grandson. Bye. You have a great day. Bye.